Happy Sunday, everybody! I hope you're doing well. Unlike some people around the world, they're waking up to the FAFO. You know, that graph? You know how it is, how it looks. It's a straight line, straight diagonal line. Yep, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. I commented on how I thought to myself that the country, the state, the nation of UK was lost, and now I'm seeing brand new stuff, some brand new stuff. I need some coffee. Uh, but what is hydrophobia? Well, there's another word for it. It's rabies. But they used to call it hydrophobia because people who used to get in animals wouldn't want to get any water because of the virus. It's inside of them. It's preventing them from doing what's in its best interest. Because it's not in the best interest of the virus to maintain, the dehydrated state, the elevated, temperature, that unnecessary and almost frequent, like almost too frequent aggression. Like it's so much aggression coming from these people who are just basically getting thrown the fuck up at the country now, right? That like nobody has to ask whether or not they deserve it. It's like, what do you think led up to this? It wasn't just, oh, you're different from me and we want you to leave. No, it was, you're coming into this country, you're causing these crimes and stuff, you're doing these things to like make people's lives significantly worse, and then you have the fucking audacity to like a lot of you hop on like social assistance and shit and like form fucking in group communities and stuff trying to like pray on the streets, trying to like sing your fucking national anthem, their national anthem in your language and shit. Yo, you gotta sing the Canadian national anthem in Punjabi because of reasons, because of like the like the largest amount of fucking people in Canada. These fucking stupid ass Pakis. And like, yo, the craziest thing is like, again, I said this in the beginning, and I'm going to constantly like go back to this. When push comes to shove, you fucking retards are gonna be pointing fingers at each other like no tomorrow. And like when you're being dragged out, like being deported the fuck out, your fingernails are gonna be like scraping the ground as you're being pulled and shit. The tears are gonna be materializing in your eyes because you realize where you're going back. The hell from whence you came. The place where it's not abnormal to act and be like you, and that's why you hate it so much because it's hell on earth. It's the worst kind of place to be, and that's why there's so many of these types of people like this. The number one thing that's going to happen as a result of these British people like rising up behind Rupert Lowe is that you're gonna have an exodus of Islamic Sikh women to just like leave their religions and like join basically the cultures that they're in the host nation of, whether it's like UK, French, German, like wherever they are, they're just going to fade, right? And you're just going to be left with like the girls that are still loyal to your cause and countless guys, just like it was back home. So in the beginning, you're gonna have this like necessary, like it's necessary, right? Like when you try to pull something out, like you're gonna have that kind of pain, but it's necessary kind of pain, right? And you're going to go against it. You're gonna be like, well, no, I gotta fight for my people. We have like our support from other British people and stuff. No, it was corrupt, homosexual and like pedophilic individuals, right? And there's nothing really wrong about being homosexual. It's just like when you're like Keir Starmer, right? And you got like, what is it, like 4 or 5 gay guys trying to set your house on fire, and then like you're okay with like all this other shit. Like you have the British Foreign Affairs Minister who was on the Epstein files and was like, prosecuted or whatever. And even though you knew that was the case, you still let him, you know, be the ambassador to the United States because of his, I guess, good relationship with Epstein. It's coming out that this guy was a secret agent. Oh man, I gotta do another follow-up video on this guy. Ugh, the dark Jews, man, the dark Jews. Yeah, they're like, partially to blame for this, for letting all these fuckers into the country and destabilizing the whole, like, idea of, like, not Israel like directly, but like the fucking, slimy ass politicians and shit with like an Israeli or whatever background. So like, don't get it twisted. I'm not saying go out there, be anti-Semitic and this and that, but like, they gotta answer for this shit. And it's like, they don't want to. I understand. I understand, dude. It's fucking annoying. I got like, well, I wouldn't say me because I'm Guyanese. The Indians got like Deepak Chopra in the Epstein list. I'm actually, I'm actually surprised something like Guyanese fucker. Like, what the fuck? You're just trying to make us look bad. Not that I have like any national pride or anything. It's just like, I just find that surprising. But like every single time people, when they're criticized nowadays, they'll like try to point to your ethnicity and try to bring you down. I'm like, okay, go for it. Because they're just gonna point at India, and I'm like, okay. Especially now that I have the tattoo of a bindi on my forehead. That's what it's called. I thought I would just call it the dot. I know nothing about my culture. Oh man. But yeah, you can see like the guys that like, they're getting pissed. They're like, holy fuck, it's actually happening. They're actually mobilizing against us. They're gonna cut off our welfare. They're gonna cut off our like, access to white women. Yeah, man. They've been craving these white women ever since like I was a kid and shit. And it wasn't just like the guys, it was the girls too. It was like the girls would be like, oh, I like their like green or blue eyes, and they'll always bring it up like it was something to like brag about. And it was always like the Packies or the Sikh girls who were like always praise. And there's like really like wrong about having your preferences and shit. Like outside of like the fact that you're just being a parasite at that point. You just want that for yourself. But like, hey, I'm not trying to play God. Like, if these Sikh girls, they're down for this like white guy like Jasleen. You're part of the roster, eh? Yeah, she's gonna add you to that roster. And these guys up in the countries and shit, like, we're finding out about these fucking truck drivers in America. They're just like closing company after company after company to try to like, and the accidents are like stupid levels fatal. Like they're always killing people. They're always like causing like the actual truck to get totaled or write off or whatever. It's just like fucking retarded. At a certain point, you gotta like break bread with the idea that like they gotta go back. They don't want to. They know why they don't want to. The smell. The smell, dude. The smell is just too great. It's just too filthy. It reminds them too much about who they really are. And I love the idea, right? That a lot of people, especially in light of the poop festival videos, I suggest you go watch those. That it's just the Hindus, man. Well, I implore you to go to Bangalore or go to, what is that city, Dhaka in Bangladesh. Just go to their places and count the amount of Hindus there, and then like count the smell. I hear it's worse there. It's more polluted. They're just dumb, dude. And then like they want to fucking stay in your country. Why? Why? It's like, would it be better if you were like to build up your country as hard as it is, and like prosper from the fruits of your labor? I'm just saying that knowing that like it's pointless. There's no infrastructure, there's no law and order, there's only pedophilia, there's only child rape, and now you have to go back to your country of origin. I think the craziest thing too is how galvanized the British people are, and I was actually shocked to see this because the whole time I thought to myself, yeah, you're gonna have like the right wingers, the like the hardcore, jock type, people who are just like waving the flags and this and that. No, the entire country came out, like moms and dads, like old people, like just swarms of them, dude. And it was just like I couldn't single out a single demographic in that entire crowd of people. It was just such a mixture that all I can say, it was just like a group of, thousands of people waving the British flag, raving. They're raving, dude. They're gonna throw a fucking rave after this. They're waving the St. George flag, and the cops are there doing what the fucking British cops do the best, suppressing and oppressing the British population for the whole world to see, dude. Guys are coming up to them, right? These fucking rats, these fucking, human scumbags, these rodents are ripping up their fucking British flags and shit. I'm just like, where the fuck are you, dude? Why are you gonna rip a flag of the country that you're in? But that's what these Antifa, these fucking terrorist, homosexual, pedophile scumbags, this is what they want. And that's why you have such a, like, an elevation of violence from the trans, whatever, air quotes, community. I don't call them a community. It's just like a fucking bunch of retards who want to rape kids, who want to normalize the lowering of the age of consent. And by, having, child gender reaffirming surgery or some trans bullshit, to affirm their own biases and their own sick machinations in life. And what it all comes down to is it's somebody else's kid, right? These trans retards want to influence the lives of somebody else's kid. They don't have to, take care of that kid, do the kid's laundry, feed him, blah, 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 right? They don't have to do any of that shit. And it's that kind of power play that you see from, like, a lot of these politicians too, especially during the COVID era, where they're like, you gotta mask up, you gotta take, X amount of vaccines, and when you actually catch these fucking politicians, these slimy greaseballs, they bullshit. They're not following these policies. They're partying it up. Do they find, like, any jail time for this? Are they like, do they lose their positions of power? No, and it's a power play. Bill Gates and Jeffrey Epstein were discussing how to get rid of poor people. He's like, Jeffrey, I'm so rich from Microsoft, but I just hate all these poor people. They're just all over the place. I don't know what to do, how to get rid of these poor people. And then they have like a fucking meeting. Outside this email, they just like, get, on this island. They probably like, meet some of these kids, diddle some kids. Okay, down to this. I'm so stupid. Can you imagine? These are the types of people that everybody respects and shit. And you're just like, how? How can you respect a scumbag, a worthless scumbag like this? You don't. And the people who do, right, you disrespect by proxy. You have no choice. It's like, oh, these vaccines are saving lives. The person who said that should be missing teeth. But we don't. We don't live in that kind of world. And that's why I have to bring up what's happening in the UK with, Rupert Lowe, the whole taking back of Britain, the whole idea of re-immigration. Or as I put it, realization. Dude, everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. You're a parasite. You are parasites to the country that you're entering into. There's nothing of value that you could offer that can ever pay back all of the loss, the net loss of taking you fucking retards in. It's not worth it. And your women will leave you, and you will be left with nothing. You'll go back to Pakistan, Afghanistan, Punjab, and you'll fuck men in the ass because that's all that there's left for you. Well, yeah, you'll probably find some girl to victimize, maybe. But yeah, that's about it. And to the ones that don't have to go back, oh, dude, the craziest part is that they probably are smiling at this part, like thinking to like, yeah, this none of this applies to me. You're just talking a mad amounts of shit against my peoples and shit, right? And I'm like, no, I'm getting to you, dude. I'm especially getting to you Because you know what's happened for the past, 2 to 3 decades has been building up to this level of hatred and almost undying racism. Like we're not talking about racism. We're talking about, and I just had to. I'm a little like, I like to get myself into trouble. So I went ahead and asked Grok, right? Is there any sub classifications, subhuman beings in existence? And Grok's like, no, we're all genetically the same. And I'm like, yeah, of course not. Of course not, dude. Of course not. No. you know, you can take a horse's heart or a pig's heart and do a surgery on a human being, and they'll still maintain the life. Mind you, the heart is most likely, because it's like a foreign, it's an animal. It's not a human heart. It's most likely going to fail. Or it's just like your organs are just going to reject it eventually, or some shit like that. But like, it can work temporarily. And the same applies for us. You can go to the hospital, you can get blood, right? And it's just like, oh, we're all humans, right? This blood is going to work for me, except it was a lie that you were told. Yeah. The taxonomy of animals and subspecies is a 100% guarantee. In almost 100% of the animal kingdoms out there, like horses, like birds, chickens, ostriches, there's every single possibility of animal out there, like combination, there are subspecies. And just like that, with humans, we also have subspecies of human beings. Yeah. And the reason why you can't say the word retard, the reason why we don't talk about inbreds and inbreeding, even though it's like well known and documented, the birth defects and this and that. The reason why, we can't say the word subhuman, even though like some of those racists on the right wing, and I gotta address those fucking retards because it's like, do you realize what the word subhuman means? Subhuman means inbred. It means people who genetically alter themselves outside of like having a fatal accident. So they take a large amount of steroids to the point where their hormones are influenced by it. They got to get injections to impregnate women or some shit like that. Like, ask clavicular, ask all these like roid heads. They're not human. They're subhuman. Do you understand what I'm getting at? And then it goes further, right? Like, when you have children who are victimized by other men and forced to basically not only are impregnated but give birth at a very young age, the people that they're giving birth to, they're not developed like normal human beings are. Do you understand? This is why you're not allowed to say these things. It's hurtful to them. It must hurt to feel like the reality, you just like settling in and just like realizing like, oh shit, this applies to me. This very much applies to me. And not just me, it applies to the millions and millions of people that I call family, friends, countrymen, my president, company owner, everybody, dude. It applies to you. Yes. Yes, it does. And the craziest thing about it, right? And the reason why I want to point out to the right wing why they're also retards is because you're inbred, you fucking idiot. What, you think you're superior to me? Oh, dude. And that's why. And every single time, you were like getting this like feeling, this idea inside of you about these types of people, all types of people. You were always dissuaded, almost told that it was you're at fault. But like ask yourself this, why should your children suffer for the ignorance of others? You are solely responsible for them. And yet you would bring them into a world with these subhuman creatures, these people who are incapable of love, decency, honor, dignity, innovation, nobility, any form of constructive or creative, compass. It's just lost on them. They exist simply for the sake of existing. They speak just to be heard. No dreams, just reality. They speak about their reality. You know the types. Oh, this is how my day is. This is how the weather is. The sports team. The mundanity of it all. Inevitably, it beats down on you until you realize that this normalcy is just the prop. It's just the part we all play in society to alleviate ourselves of, the burden of our cheap labor, the inconvenient truth that our society is held up by vastly incompetent, people who are 100% reliant on not only our tax money against our will, but also they're trying to reproduce. They're trying to, well, not trying to, they are. They have. So the easiest way to go about this is to understand that it's not a word that does not exist. It's a word that they don't want you to know exists. Hydrophobia is just rabies. Subhumanity is just our reality. Reimmigration is just the realization of that. And sooner or later, we're going to have to accept it.